Welcome to the Bayonet's Countdown to November, a series of interviews with the candidates in the November 4th general election. I'm Dick Myers, and with me on this segment is incumbent Republican State's Attorney Rick Fritz. His challenger is Democrat Shane Manley. Nice to have you here, Rick.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How many terms have you served to date?
I have served 4 terms, which would be 16 years.
Okay. I do know that before that you were a defense attorney. Was the conversion from one side to the other, was that a difficult transition?
No, it wasn't difficult for me because I started out as a public defender. Of course, I was an assistant state's attorney under 2 state's attorneys, then a public defender, then deputy state's attorney for 10 years. So I became pretty used to moving from one side of the table to the other. So it's kind of a seamless transition.
Do you prefer the prosecuting side?
I've always preferred the prosecution.
Put away the bad guys?
Yeah, I put away the bad guys, and it gives you a sense of satisfaction to be, playing a large role in the courtroom and protecting the citizens of this county.
You, like maybe some other state's attorneys in other parts of the country, actually do a lot of courtroom work, don't you?
Yes, I do. St. Mary's County is too small to have solely an administrative state's attorney. They pay me a salary that I'm happy with, and I would like to think that I earn my salary. I started out as a trial attorney. I like to stay a trial attorney, and that means courtroom work. Again, St. Mary's County is too small to have solely an administrative state's attorney.
What do you consider to be some of your courtroom successes?
Well, we love to win cases and hate to lose cases. I am primarily the narcotics prosecutor and the homicide prosecutor. Once you've gone through the district court level, the child support level, the juvenile court level, you reach a pinnacle in your life where you start handling the more serious cases. So I get a lot of satisfaction out of handling homicide cases. They are, without question, considered the most difficult cases, oftentimes involving forensic evidence, which any prosecutor has to have a good handle on.
Mm-hmm. So how is the state's attorney's office structured? How many assistants do you have? How do they work, and how are they assigned? I
have 9 assistants. We have several assistants that handle primarily the district court cases, which I refer to Judge Wapner's court. It's the people's court. It's non-jury. Cases are generally short, but there's a magnitude of cases. We run something like 3,300 criminal cases a year, 600 drunk driving cases a year. So it's a court system that has a lot of turnover. We then have the circuit court system, which is our jury trial court that handles the more serious cases, the rapes, the homicides, the serious drug cases, the armed robberies, those cases that are generally more serious, that are outside the jurisdiction of the district court system.
So is there a lot of routine work that wouldn't involve a trial for a lot of your deputies, just showing up for arraignments and docket calls and that kind of thing? Does that take up a lot of time?
Well, yeah. Let's consider the fact that in the circuit court we probably have 500 circuit court cases. Each one of those cases may be as many as 4 to 5 different appearances. Should we win a case, that case goes up on appeal, then it would come back for a post-conviction review where they say either the judge made a mistake, the state's attorney made a mistake, or the defense attorney made a mistake, and all those require hearings. So any one case can have, even though it's one case, it can have multiple appearances in court.
Even though one of your deputies may be specializing in one particular area, are they in effect interchangeable if they need to be?
They're interchangeable, but No attorney wants to stay in one area forever. All attorneys want to move up to the homicide level. So depending upon their experience, we put them in different areas. For example, a brand new attorney would be in the district court handling the less serious cases. Once they gain experience there, they move into the circuit court. They'll have jury trials, which are the lesser jury trials. Somebody may have a shoplifting case and pray a jury. They try those types of cases. As they gain more experience, they move into the more complex cases.
Do you have enough staff to function?
At this point in time, we have enough staff. But like everything, St. Mary's County is growing. As the Sheriff's Department grows, the prosecutor's office must grow. But as it is right now, we certainly have enough attorneys.
Are there any weak links, easy for me to say, any weak links in the judicial system that need to be fixed?
Well, I don't know. Well, when, that's kind of a hard question to answer. I've always complained about the guidelines, the judicial guidelines. You have a lot of people saying, well, I don't understand why this person only has to serve so many years. I'll give you an example. Let us say, for example, we have a first-time offender who's dealing drugs. State legislature says that if you're dealing, shall we say, cocaine, you could get 20 years in the penitentiary. But if you plug that into the judicial guidelines, that comes down to 6 months to 3 years. Now, generally speaking, depending upon the type of case, the judges may not give them 3 years because 3 years is a division of correction sentence. They may give them in the middle of the guidelines, which is 8 months. Weak link, let's look at the parole system. If it's a nonviolent crime, even though you're plugged into the guidelines and you can get 6 months to 3 years, if the judge gives you 18 months locally, you're still entitled to parole, which is 25% of your sentence. So you'll have a lot of cases where we get to the court level, that person has almost served their time if they couldn't make bond. So weak link, yeah, the guidelines I believe are weak. The parole system is weak, which has a great deal of difficulty on a particular case.
A cover court, routinely, it seems to me, coming from the public defender's office, that's an awful overworked office.
Public defender's office? Well, why don't we consider the fact that probably 75 to 80% of all people through the criminal system are in fact indigent and entitled to a public defender. So it is an overworked system.
Mm-hmm. They need more?
Well, they may need more, but one thing that has to be remembered is that these public defenders only handle criminal cases, which makes them experts in the area by sheer volume of work that they have. So, a lot of times you'll hear a defendant say, well, I want to get myself a real attorney. Well, a public defender is a real attorney who is quite expert in the area in which he or she serves.
Yeah, I didn't mean by asking the question to imply anything about the quality, because it doesn't.
No, but this is what you hear a lot within the system.
I agree. Okay, we hear a lot in the community about the drug problem. How is the state's attorney's office involved in that?
Well, let me put it this way: the drug problem. The drug problem. I can go back as far as Ronald Reagan and William Donald Schaefer and all the czars that were appointed, where was the war on drugs, and crack cocaine was the fuel of the day, and now it seems to be oxycodone and heroin, not only in St. Mary's County, throughout the state of Maryland, throughout the United States. It's become a very, very serious problem. What I'm detecting in the latest craze for opiates is that many more women are becoming involved in the system. Many individuals who are now involved in the system are involved in the system as a result of very serious physical injuries that they received prior to them becoming addicted. Part of the problem that we're having is you'll get young kids that will go out, they'll take an oxycodone, they'll drink up some whiskey, they'll go home, they'll go to sleep, and their breathing becomes so suppressed that they just stop breathing and they die. What are we doing to combat that? Obviously, we're doing as we've always done. We've just had 10 years of juvenile drug court, a celebration for that system.
Does that work?
Does it work? Well, we hope it works, okay? It works as well as any other system, because I think the experts are realizing that solely incarceration is not a cure to the problem. It's a very complex problem. You have addiction. Treatment is a very important element. Incarceration is a very important element. Education is a very important element. I'll give you a prime example of the way America works today. My wife and I are ready to go to bed at 10 o'clock. Our kids are ready to go out at 10 o'clock. You know, 2 o'clock in the morning, we're asleep. They come home. Do we know whether they're on drugs? Do we know whether they're drunk? Do we know whether they're okay? Do we know where they are at 1 o'clock in the morning? Absolutely not. This is happening throughout our community, not only my family, but everybody's family. And, you know, we as parents have to be more advertent as to what our children are doing, how their friends are. Give you a good example. My wife loves to ride horses. She can look at one of our horses and in 5 seconds tell you whether or not it's lame, whether or not something is wrong with its disposition. We're losing that with our children. We must be able to read them, and we must know when their demeanor has changed. We must know who their friends are. We must know what their demeanors are, and once we start understanding that, we can probably get a better handle on the problem. So a lot of this has to do with education. Education of our children, education of our parents, not strictly law enforcement, not strictly rehabilitation.
Does your office have any special way of handling domestic violence cases?
Yes. Several years ago, I went to the county commissioners. I said, look, domestic violence is a serious problem. We need to create a specialized unit. We created a specialized unit. We have one attorney that is well trained in domestic violence. She handles all of our domestic violence cases. Years ago, we used to spread them throughout the office. You have 10 attorneys, maybe every one of them have a domestic violence case. They're treated as run-of-the-mill cases. Now they're not. This specialized unit is combined with all the other agencies, Department of Social Services, Family Advocacy, Walden Sierra, the Sheriff's Department. They've created a lethality review team that can take a case, look at it, and determine whether or not there's a probability that it's going to reoccur. So we have more vertical prosecution rather than horizontal prosecution. And that's been very successful. In fact, from 2010 to 2012, we've seen a decrease in domestic violence crimes. We've seen a decrease in protective orders until 2013, when the legislature has redefined domestic violence. Used to be basically between a man and a wife. Now it can be between a boyfriend and a girlfriend, a couple that's had a child together. You know, with the recent change in laws, it can be between a man and a man who have a domestic relationship, a woman and a woman. So the entire definition of the term has spread out. So if we have an increase in statistics, it's because of redefining of the term domestic violence. Even assault and batteries. An assault and battery is an assault and battery, but now can be specifically designated as a domestic violence case. So we're seeing a lot of that. And again, domestic violence is becoming more reported than it ever has been.
Right.
which is part of educating society.
Right. You're a Republican, but is your office a political office, really?
No. I don't hire people pursuant to what they are politically, only what they can do in the courtroom. For example, my deputy state's attorney, Ted Weiner, is a long-term Democrat.
Right.
Been a Democrat forever. I can't tell you what the rest of them are. I mean, I hope that it'd be all Republicans, but they're not. And so that doesn't make any difference to me. I'd hire a Democrat as quick as I'd hire a Republican.
It's not a checklist on the application.
No, and here's the real thing. When somebody calls up my office and says, hey, look, I got a problem, I need help, I don't say, are you Democrat, are you Republican? If you're a victim of a crime, you come before my office and we will do the best we possibly can to represent you.
For folks that like to be active in your campaign to help out, what's the best way to do it? And do you have a Facebook account and a web page and all that social media
Facebook,
stuff?
Facebook, I guess I actually have two Facebooks. Rick Fritz, State's Attorney, and then just Rick Fritz, or Richard Fritz. I'm fairly active on my personal account. I find myself not talking so much, well, of course talking politics, but talking the things that I like to talk, you know, hunting, fishing, family, horses, you know, everything under the sun. So it's more, well, social media, not just political.
Right. And they could sign up to help you through the social media then?
Oh yeah, all they got to do is put in, hey, I'd like to help.
Okay. Well, we surely want to encourage everyone to get out and vote on November 4th, and also, if you need to do it during early voting from October 23rd to October 30th. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us on this segment of Countdown to November.